What's up guys, Chef Dave back with another cooking video. So today we are going to, take a little bit of a dive into some Portuguese food. For those of you that know me, I'm Portuguese, so Portuguese food is obviously close to my heart. There are many dishes that I kind of want to continue to explore. Some I've done before, some I haven't, but I thought it would be cool for the channel to have a little bit of a playlist of like Portuguese foods, especially when they are relevant to, the time of year. And today I thought we've got a ton of rain in the city and it's overcast and gloomy. I thought it'd be a cool, fun day to do. It's sort of like a Portuguese shepherd's pie of sort, but it's made with codfish, with salt cod. This is called Bacalhau com Broa, or codfish with Portuguese cornbread. This is, one of the many versions of codfish dishes that Portugal has. This is something that I've seen, before. I haven't necessarily made it myself, but since I made broa the other day and I have a little bit left over still, I thought it was a good day to do this dish and to show you guys how to do this at home. Let's do it. Let's get into it. So our main cast of characters are these 5 ingredients. We've got 3 Idaho potatoes that's just been diced up. You can peel the skin. I actually like the skin on my kind of smashed potatoes personally. We have our older broa kind of just sliced up and then broken into small pieces. If you have a strong food processor, you can probably do it in there, just pulse it. However, this crust is pretty thick, so sometimes it'll get stuck in a weaker food processor, so keep that in mind. You might have to just break this up by hand. And then we've got onions and garlic. These are just 2 nice Spanish onions sliced up. This is 5 cloves of garlic just sliced up. We got 4 eggs that just tempered, and then we have 2 pieces of salt cod. This is probably about 8 to 10 ounces of salt cod in the dry form. This has been soaked overnight. You can buy the salt cod, the actual salt cod, even on Amazon, which I'll put a link to down below. These are the main elements. We will, in addition to this, we will need a ton of olive oil, obviously some seasoning, salt, pepper, and some milk for the potatoes to make kind of a smashed potato puree. So first things first, we're going to put our potatoes on. You're gonna cover it with cold water, and then you're gonna put it on high. Beautiful. And of course, season with salt. We will just cover that to bring that up to a simmer. And once that comes up to a simmer, it's gonna take probably about 10 to 15 minutes to cook these potatoes. So it's not that long of a boil. And now for this, we're gonna bring this water up. I just put it on. This is just simply plain water. We are gonna put a splash of vinegar in it. Just, I'm gonna use just a little apple cider vinegar. Just a splash, not a lot. 2 tablespoons worth of vinegar. Because we're gonna do kind of dual cooking here. We're gonna cook our eggs and our cod in here at the same time because they take about the same amount of time to cook, because salt cod, it's cured, so it doesn't necessarily have to cook a very long time. It takes probably about 12 to 15 minutes depending on how thick the pieces are, and the eggs take about 10 minutes to cook. Okay, I'm just gonna lay the cod in. Now this piece will be a little faster because it's much thinner, obviously. So we're gonna put this to the side so that we can pull it out after about the same time as the eggs. But we're gonna put the eggs in once it comes back to a boil. Okay, now that we are back to a boil, we'll put our tempered eggs in. So set our timer, 10 minutes. So we are at the 10-minute mark, and we've got a little bit of an ice bath here. So we're gonna fish out our eggs. We're gonna put them right into the ice bath so they cool down immediately so that we can handle them easily. And we'll top that off with a little water. And we'll also take out this first piece of cod. See how it's kind of starting to fall apart? That's where you want it to be. And this piece needs probably another 4 or 5 minutes. We're still waiting for our potatoes to come up. Yeah, they're almost up. They're just starting to come up right now. So those will be ready in about 12 minutes from now, 10 to 12 minutes. We also have set in the back here, just a bowl with 1 stick of butter, a 1/4 cup of olive oil, and 1/2 cup of milk. We'll probably need a little more milk. We're just setting it in the back here just to temper. Right, so it's been another 5 minutes for a total of about 15. And we are going to take this piece of cod and pull it out. We're going to drain it off really well. We've got our nice, I mean, this is a pretty copper pan, an all-clad pan, but you can even do this in something like a Le Creuset, or even something like this, like a casserole pan, works really well. Either one will work. So once this is nice and warm, we're going to take olive oil. We're going to add a good amount of olive oil, probably about a cup of olive oil. Now this isn't the good olive oil, this is just sauteing olive oil or medium grade olive oil. It's not shitty either. So once our oil is nice and hot, we're going to add our onions and garlic. And we're going to leave this on high heat because we're going to kind of soften and fry these onions at the same time. We're not going to add any seasoning yet. We'll add the seasoning once they begin to start get a little color, because we don't want the excess moisture to come out. In the meantime, we've got our eggs. We're going to peel them. It's pretty simply just tap them around, nothing crazy. And if we cook them right, they should peel. Look at that, super easy. This is the best method for eggs. We can just drop them right back in the water. So I'm going to peel all these. So this is boneless cod, so you don't really have to worry too much about it, but all we're going to do is kind of break this up. It's still pretty hot. I know where the bones would be, just from experience, and there are no bones. So it's a good thing about buying the boneless, skinless cod. You don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff. They usually do a pretty good job. Again, they might miss every once in a while, so you do maybe want to just go over it one time just to make sure. But we want to break it up into pieces like that. Okay? And that's perfect. Now, this we want to taste, check for salinity, and that's it. That's ready there. Now, our potatoes are ready. Make sure they're well drained, and then you're just going to pop the potatoes in there. You take a whisk, and you just smash them up. All right? If you have a big whisk, great. You want a whisk with some sturdiness to it if you don't have a bit of potato masher. But obviously, if you have a potato masher, that works awesome. And so you just break these down a little bit, taste them for seasoning. Needs a little seasoning, but we also don't want to forget our salt cod. Salt cod has a little salt, to it, but it does need a little salt despite that. Okay. Now I like to take the cod and mix it into the potato. That's how I like to do it, because I think that helps mix and amalgamate the kind of fish and salt together really well. But that's kind of what you're looking for. You're not looking for too stiff, you're not looking for too thin. Just nice potatoes like that. It's exactly what you're looking for right there. The onions are starting to get kind of that little bit of a fried look. Keep them going. You don't want to keep stirring them because you want them to fry up. If that makes sense. But every once in a while, like I've only stirred this twice, so we want to push that down to get, full contact with the bottom, but we don't want to keep messing with it. That is exactly what we're trying to do and what we're looking for. We're going to put this, we're going to flip it like this to try to get the bottom to the top. And then another probably 3 minutes and we'll be good. Our eggs are peeled. With the eggs, you can kind of do what you want. You can kind of, you can just slice them up just across. It's really however you want to do it. I think this is good, but that's perfectly set. You notice there's no sulfur ring or anything like that. It's a perfectly hard-boiled egg. This is exactly what you would want for deviled eggs. Like this would be perfect, basically. Easy peel, 100%. You don't have to worry about that. And there we're ready. Our onions are ready. I'm gonna bring this here. I mean, you couldn't ask for better right there. That's fried up onions. So you can even bring this up just a little bit so that you form kind of a pie shell. Now the rest, make sure you're flat. Now we take our potato cod mix. We're going to drop it right into the middle. So once we have it all in there, we're going to push this from the center out. Make sure it's nice and even. Okay, that looks great. The eggs are up to you, right? Some people like eggs, some people don't. I totally get it. Eggs are one of those things in Portugal that they go in everything because eggs have lots of protein and you know, they're filling. When you're a poor country, you find the best ways to feed yourself, right? You find eggs in a lot of things, but cod and eggs in particular, because if you notice the amount of salt cod, it only ends up being a couple ounces per person, right? So it's not a ton of salt cod. You could add more salt cod if you want. I'm just trying to stay semi-traditional as much as possible. That's why you have the combination of proteins, if you will. You've got the salt cod, which adds the salinity, the fish flavor, probably a bunch of umami, which makes it taste so good because, I mean, you think about like prosciutto and pecorino cheese and Parmesan cheese, all those things are full in umami. And that comes from, you know, the aging process and everything. And that's kind of what salt cod is. So salt cod is, I would almost argue, that's one of the original Portugal anyway, umamis. At this point, now we add our ground up or broken up broa to the top of this. And again, this is supposed to be a filling, you know, almost cold weather dish. If you look at it, you've got all the elements of the poor. You've got a dish made entirely of onions, potatoes, garlic, old bread, eggs, which, you know, everybody had chickens, so everybody had eggs. You know, your real luxury item here would be the salt cod. Now, once you have it all topped off, I like to push it down a little bit, work it into that potato, and that actually protects the eggs a little bit too from getting kind of gnarly. And then we're going to take some of that medium grade olive oil again, and we're going to drizzle a bunch right on top. From here, we have our preheated oven at about 375, 400 degrees, depending on your oven. And because everything's cooked, basically, you're just now baking it to amalgamate it and kind of toast the top a little bit. So it'll probably take about a half hour, depending on your oven. Well, we've hit about 35 minutes, actually. Top is nice and brown, and it's bubbling away. So we're going to take it out and take a look. Look at that. Whoo! That looks sick. You can see the bubbling around the outside. The aromatics coming off of this are just, I mean, they're ridiculous, you know, in truth. If you want to know if it's ready or if it's hot enough, or just, you can take a little knife, stick it in there, and just, yeah, that's nice and hot. So there you have it. You can garnish this with some parsley, fresh olives. You would typically serve something like this with a nice salad on the side. I mean, I'm super excited to eat this. Super excited. This is just, I mean, it's a way to kind of keep in touch with tradition. That means a lot to me. excited to be doing this kind of series of dishes to explore, my own personal heritage. So that's pretty much it. This is one of our, first explorations into several Portuguese dishes to come. I'm super excited about this again just because it is a huge part of who I am growing up. But I just feel like now is the right time, mostly because, so much of Portuguese food is really based on two things: exploration of the world, right? I commonly say nobody has had more impact on the food world than the Portuguese, and I can list many, many examples of that. But also because, for as rich as it was at one point in time, it was also extremely poor for a lot of that time. And a lot of the food is based in poverty and kind of making do with what you had. And, right now, as we enter, 2023, I feel like so many of us are kind of, watching our spending and, trying to be mindful of where we put our efforts. I think food is such an important thing for everyone. I know a lot of people don't take food as seriously as, say, I do. It's important, and creating delicious foods out of simple ingredients, I think, is more important now than ever. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Thanks again, guys. Peace.